and you felt like something was in his head. I saw him pull up and hit the side of a backboard. I saw him in a layup line try to throw an alley-oop to himself and throw the ball over the backboard in warm-ups. That's psychological.
First off, Stephen A is right. Things got bad for Russell Westbrook last season, so bad that they exceeded anything that could be faulted because of talent. Don't get me wrong, the decision-making needs work and the jump shot was bad, but not everything that went wrong with Russell Westbrook last season was directly correlated to his talent level. And honestly, to an extent, I believe that if you believe that, you're kind of letting him off the hook. It's completely logical to admit that Westbrook is not the absolute beaster player that he once was in OKC, while also admitting that he is still a better player than what he showcased last season. It's really wild. I get called a homer for saying things like this, and I'm not even a Lakers fan. And while I do root for Westbrook, I can admit his faults. In the comments below, I want to know what a successful season for Russell Westbrook in LA looks like to you. What's his play style, averages, shooting percentage, and all of that stuff look like? Now, I really didn't want to bring this up this video, but while we're here and on the topic of shooting percentages, has anybody else seen that video of Westbrook draining jump shots while working with Chris Brickley? For some reason, this just reminds me of 2K so much, which by the way is a pretty good game this year. In the comments below, let me know what you guys think of Westbrook's quote improved jump shot. I personally think that it looks pretty good, but of course I need to see it in a game. I've just been fooled too many times. I can't tell you guys how many times I've seen videos of Ben Simmons looking like one of the best players in the NBA, only to come back the same Ben Simmons, which in my opinion is pretty good. But anyways, to get back to what Stephen A was talking about, when it comes to basketball, if you're a hooper, you know that the right mindset could have you playing completely different. If your confidence is done, then your game will be too. Honestly, confidence by itself can take you a long ways in life. It can literally be life-changing. Imagine you're this great shooter, but you're scared to shoot the ball, scared to call your own number. How many times have we seen people with the ability to do things when the lights are off, and then when they're on, they're a completely different player or person? Is Patrick Beverley the Patrick Beverley we know today without his confidence level at where it is? You can't tell me that there's not a difference when somebody confidently passes you the ball, wanting you to shoot the next shot, make or miss, as opposed to thinking that you have to hit that shot, and if you miss, that you're simply not allowed to shoot anymore. That's kind of an extreme example, but I'm sure you guys get my point. I remember one instance last season where Malik Monk blatantly ignored Westbrook for a go-ahead basket. I'm not going to say that he was wrong for doing so. I'm just going to say that that moment told a deeper story, especially since the Lakers did end up losing that game and not getting a good shot off. Last season, the Lakers were a mess. I'll repeat that many times. I still can't believe the whole Anthony Davis and Dwight Howard thing. When I saw this go down, the first thing that popped in my head was who would win in a celebrity boxing match. Guys, celebrity boxing is wild. Sometimes there are just no winners. I mean, did you guys see the Nick Young fight the other week? The sad thing is that this wasn't even close to the worst I've seen. This is probably a topic for a stream or something like that, but everybody isn't meant to be a Paul brother or KSI. It's no secret that in the past, Russell Westbrook and Patrick Beverley didn't like each other. Their beef definitely goes back, and what's pretty nuts is that they had moments as recently as last season.
Every fan of this building and watch it on TV. And then how about Pepe? It's going to go to the free throw line.
Now, according to reports, it's all water under the bridge, and that's really what you want to see. Beefing is usually pretty dumb, and there's nothing to really gain out of it. That being said, Patrick Beverley was definitely wild, and I understood why Russell Westbrook was frustrated with him. As I alluded to earlier, one of the biggest questions for this upcoming season surrounding the Los Angeles Lakers would be how would Patrick Beverley and Russell Westbrook coexist if Westbrook in fact remained a Laker. We actually have an update on Westbrook potentially remaining in LA later in this video, but before we get to that, let's get back to the question. With Pat's arrival in LA, he would give us a bit of insight.
I mean, it works, to have another ball handler out there with me. Obviously, with with LeBron also, I think the more ball handlers, I think the better you are a team.
Pat, having been on the other side with the Clippers for so long. What is it like for you to be a Laker now?
No, it's very different. Night and day, too. I mean, just walking around the city, you almost get a different respect. But with that respect comes a lot of responsibility, too. So, you don't take for me, my upbringing in this league, you never want to take an opportunity like this for granted. You're talking about one of America's teams. So with that comes a badge of honor and respect that you have to play with each and every night. But, that's something I do anyway.
Pat thinks that he and Westbrook complement each other well and will fit. He also said that he's never played with somebody who has the same grit and toughness as him. He also acknowledged that they'll have some tough conversations at some point. That last part that I just said is massive for Los Angeles and why getting a guy like Pat Bev goes far beyond the numbers. I anticipate Patrick Beverley having a major impact on this locker room and being an extension of Darvin Ham, which, speaking of, Ham and company have made it clear that Westbrook will need to play a different style of basketball this year than he's been used to playing. Ham has been hammering home the point that if Westbrook and Bev are to coexist, then it'll start on the defensive side of the basketball. When asked if they had the potential of playing together, Ham said if they play defense, we got a while, they're still a ways off, but definitely. And people get caught up in the starting lineups a lot, but you look at who's finishing games. Those starters, they're obviously out there to set the tone for our entire team throughout the game, but that's still a far ways off. He also went on to basically say that when it comes to the starting lineup, that nothing has been decided yet, while also adding in that Kendrick Nunn and Austin Reeves have had good workouts, and there will be real competition for jobs. If I'm a Lakers fan, this is exactly what I want to hear. This sounds night and day from last season. Even if this is just coach speaking, your starting lineup is already set in stone. You don't think those young guys, some of those players trying to make a name for themselves, aren't going to be going harder, knowing that there's a chance that they could end up in the starting lineup, or even just playing rotational minutes? In the comments below, let me know what you guys want the Lakers lineup to look like. According to The Athletic's Jovan Buha, there's a legitimate chance that Russell Westbrook is eventually deployed as the team's sixth man, depending on how his fit with LeBron James develops. The fun thing here is that I would actually love this role for Russell Westbrook if he were to embrace it. He had some of his best games last season with LeBron James and Anthony Davis sideline. I know that there were attempts to stagger them and all that, but it's tough to ignore that Westbrook actually averaged 22.1 points, 8.1 rebounds, and 8 assists without Bron playing last season. This is a 23-game sample size. Now I know that stats are stats and they never tell the full story, but I legitimately thought that Westbrook was playing better towards the end of the season. When it comes to Westbrook's defense, do I think that he'll become a lock? No, not necessarily, but I do think that with effort he could be passable. He has lost some athleticism, but at the end of the day he's still an athlete and he's still pretty strong. When the Rockets were switching everything, I watched Westbrook get matched up with bigs and hold his own. I think that Ham and the organization are applying a good pressure to Westbrook. They've made it clear that there's still a level of faith in him. Even if it's just trade bait, it's a good look nonetheless. Remember that pressure that I was just telling you guys about? Well, the Lakers also just managed to sign Dennis Schroeder, who, by the way, just got done tearing up Eurobasket, averaging 22.1 points and 7.1 assists in the tournament. Side note, guys, Eurobasket and international basketball in general is amazing. The flow, the physicality, and the intensity, just everything about the games feel perfect. It feels like a more pure form of basketball. While we're here and talking about tournaments, do you guys think an in-season tourney is a good idea? I'm really still a little torn on this one. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. I mean, the way that Adam Silver is moving, guys, I really wouldn't be shocked if we saw a 4-point line in our lifetime. And I really wouldn't know how I'd feel about that. The same way that I really don't know how I feel about the fact that Schroeder was still a free agent all the way up until a few days ago. According to reports, this guy turned down other potential suitors like the Toronto Raptors and the Phoenix Suns to come back to LA. I know his first tenure in Los Angeles didn't go as everybody may have planned, but he was still a solid player who at this stage of his career is good depth at worst. I'm saying this like he didn't average 15 and 6 in his last stint in Los Angeles. That being said, averaging 15 and 6 and turning down $84 million only to have to take a prove-it deal next is pretty tough. Schroeder turning down that $84 million had to be one of the biggest bag fumbles in NBA history. Assuming that he never gets traded and he accepts that offer, he'd be playing for $21 million a year in LA right now. Instead, he's going to be playing this upcoming season for $2.6 mil. Now, of course, any NBA contract is a W, so I really can't hate, but sheesh, that's a lot of money to potentially lose. I hope he balls out this season in LA. I think that Westbrook's agent was right. Once you start taking those small post-prime contracts, it's really hard to get off of them even if you are productive. The contract that you're on can without a doubt change the way that you're viewed as a player. Guys, let me know what you guys think of Schroeder teaming up with his guy Russell Westbrook again in the comments below. Now, to move past Schroeder and to the topic of a potential Westbrook trade happening, according to ESPN, while Westbrook is very open to a trade, he hasn't asked for one, but he is open to a trade and somebody who wants him and wants to empower him to be the Russell Westbrook of old. If this is the case, what teams do you guys see being the best case scenario for Russell Westbrook? Apparently the Spurs are still interested in him, but the Lakers are trying to look elsewhere. There was also that Buddy Hield and Miles Turner stuff, but apparently those talks have stalled because the Lakers aren't trying to trade 2 firsts. Despite everything that I've said and gone over in this video, I still think that there's a chance that we see Westbrook move this season. He's nearly $50 million expiring, and we have a stacked draft and free agency class coming up. There are going to be teams that may not be unloading assets now that are going to be. It's really just a matter of when they decide to do it. Also, like I said in my last Westbrook video, I don't know if LeBron opts in without something up his sleeve. There's no shot that this is the final Lakers roster in my opinion. There are some holes that we'll have to go over in another video. Let me know what you guys think of everything down in the comments below. Clicking the video on the screen right now is a great way to support my channel. I'm GetLikeCoop, bringing you guys the scoop until our next upload.